Is it worth buying Lego compatible parts that Lego itself doesn't make? Is it worth buying Lego alternative sets with pieces that Lego doesn't have? All of that coming up in this video. As a Lego enthusiast, my main interest in Lego is as a system of play and display for young creative minds as well as seasoned hobbyists or adult fans of Lego. In this video, we will look at my top 10 parts or individual elements which alternative brands produce and use, which, although compatible with Lego, are not directly made by Lego. But first, how would you define a really good Lego compatible part design? For me, it's not something custom made for just one set or associated with one use. Rather, it's something that has a more generic or even geometric shape, whether it's angled or rounded. It's something that has maybe multiple uses or something that solves a problem. With that in mind, let's get into my personal top 10 alternative brand compatible part designs. For my number 10 pick, I also want to talk about why alternative part designs are so good. I came across this set. It reminds me of the Lego McLaren F1 LM, and it has these McLaren, maybe even Ferrari vibes, even though it's just called sports car. I even found the building instructions online, which was just awesome. But I realized it's actually quite a challenge to put this car together using only Lego parts because of a number of unique parts. Lego does have a lot of sloped parts in general, and quite a few of them have recently been introduced. In fact, there's an endless variety of angles and slopes. But I particularly like that with these sloped parts in this car, the lower end or the tapered end has the height of a plate and not a half plate. That means that when placed next to a tile, for example, they create this continuous smooth surface, and so it works very well in this case. In fact, I'm all for companies that design and produce their own unique parts as a way to differentiate themselves. For my next pick, I feel that it would be good to discuss the new Metal Brick Shop sets early on in this video, because these sets have not even been released out into the market yet, and already there's a bit of discussion about the so-called custom parts. In some cases, these unique parts are really just sort of modified plates, maybe without studs, making them like a kind of angled tile or maybe like a tiled bracket, which is really cool in my opinion. In other cases, there may be parts that are more curved and rounded. They may be even more custom made to the set in particular. But in any case, to the extent that they are compatible with Lego parts and to the extent that they can be used in different builds, I really think they just add value to the industry and the hobby. Now, particularly with regard to the Metal Brick Shop, I have my eye on the Cadillac Project GPT set. I'm very curious to see how all these new parts line up with other Lego parts, and in particular these blue and black wedged parts used on the sides and on the back. Now, let's talk about Technic parts, and in particular, let's talk about CADA. So, CADA offers individual parts that you can purchase from their website. In particular, they have these flip-flop Technic beams. Now, Lego, to be fair, does offer flip-flop Technic beams that are 1x7, 1x9, 1x11, even 1x15. And they've recently been introduced in the years 2021, 23, and 25, so they're really a new addition to the Lego inventory. But CADA takes just one step further, offering flip-flop Technic beams that are even and odd-numbered. So there's a Technic beam that is 1x3, 1x5, but also 1x4 and 1x6. Now, hopefully it's clear just how useful these parts are. And hopefully it's clear that these parts perfectly fit the description I set out in the introduction. They're generic or geometric even. They are very easily incorporated into different builds, and they solve a problem. These flip-flop Technic beams kind of function in Technic builds like the brackets function in system builds, reversing or changing the direction of the build. Let's now talk about Kobe. Lego and Kobe have clearly taken very different approaches. Lego focuses on the building experience and building techniques. Kobe evidently focuses more on the accuracy and the shaping of the final product. Which brings me to one of the smallest parts, which also makes the biggest difference when it comes to building techniques. You see, Kobe has duos. These parts clearly solve a problem, inverting the direction of the build, much like so-called stud reversing techniques, allowing you to build on top and on bottom in a very small space. Now, I think the use of these duos or these parts really comes down to your personal approach to model building and mock designs. Do you want to limit yourself to the current Lego inventory and push your own creativity and explore building techniques? Or do you just want a quick fix, something simple to get the best final look? Now, just to add to the discussion, it's worth noting that the minifigure rings can be used in the same way as these duos, as a kind of stud reversing element. Interestingly, these minifigure rings are available in Lego in only one color, namely chrome gold. But over at WeBrink, they offer this part not just in chrome gold, but in a few additional colors as well. And in fact, this element is listed in Bricklink in over 70 different colors in over 1,700 wanted lists. All of this could be an indication that builders and designers really just prefer something simple like the Kobe duos. In my opinion, between the Lego minifigure ring and the Kobe duos, I feel that the Kobe duos are just much better because they're designed for what they're designed for. I'm pretty sure my next pick is going to surprise you, and I would be very interested to see how others feel about this. But you might remember these large, rounded, even glow-in-the-dark building blocks. You see, in the 90s, a company called Better Bricks came out onto the market. From a product design point of view, or from the point of view of a compatible system of play and display, Lego itself has toe balls and ball joints, which are different sizes, but they each work well in different builds. So why not have different sizes of studs? In general, rounded parts like the Technic pins and beams allow for a huge variety of shapes and angles. So incorporating these compatible parts, I feel, can only push your own creativity. By the way, at this point I want to mention that if you're curious about building block designs in general, I'm preparing a video about the actual real-life measurements of the Lego brick. So head over to my channel for more information about that. For my next part, I want to talk about alternative materials. You see, Lego itself uses different materials. I mean, just look at how well a bit of string and cloth look on the Endurance set, or any other pirate sets for that matter. I'm sure that you've also seen Meccano sets, and I've even seen Lego Meccano hybrid builds, which in my opinion are actually really cool. But my number 5 pick is actually a standard Lego inventory part, the metallic universal joint. Now, particularly if you're working with motorized sets, this small part with its tiny pins could easily break. All the more so if you're running at high speeds or with a BUWIZ motor, for example. In any case, I definitely recommend getting a few of these if that's the kind of build that you enjoy. So, talking about alternate materials, what could be better than metal? Well, carbon fiber, of course. Now, you might know just how easy it is to twist or break a plastic axle. So I really like that some companies offer steel and even carbon fiber axles in different lengths. And I would definitely recommend that you get a few if you work with a lot of motorized builds. For the last 2 parts or elements, we focused on different materials and not necessarily unique designs. But still, the point is that you have to purchase these parts not from Bricklink or from Lego, but from a third-party provider. But wait till you see the next 2 parts we're going to talk about. By the way, I haven't covered electronic components because I will be making a separate video about LEGO power functions and Control Plus components as well as compatible alternatives. So please subscribe if you don't want to miss out on all the upcoming content. For my number 3 pick, you see LEGO has a number of suspension parts and shock absorbers which rely on pneumatic principles or which incorporate springs. Have you thought about using leaf springs which emulate real-life vehicle designs? So I've included this as my number 3 pick because it is in fact a unique design that I have not found in the LEGO inventory, and it perfectly fits my definition of a good part design. You see, the leaf spring allows for builds that don't rely on springs but also have a more compact suspension. Now, coming back to the first car I talked about, I noticed in the building instructions these kind of half plates that also have a smooth underside. These parts are incredibly useful. I can't emphasize how good it is to be able to use these in your build. You see, they add stability to your build on one hand, but they also allow you to create smooth surfaces on the anti-stud side of a build. LEGO does have some inverted tiles like this one here, but I feel that the design of these inserts is just much better and very much worth using in your builds. Finally, for my number 1 alternative compatible part design, to be honest, it's more of a wish at this point than something that's abundantly available from alternative brands, which is a car windscreen for building sets at roughly a 1:16 scale, meaning a 12 or 14 stud wide scale. You see, LEGO does have these flat windscreens at 14 and 12 studs wide, but they're actually quite difficult to match or place with sets at this scale, or for many of the Technic sets especially that have been released at this scale. Now, I found a few good options. Kobe, for one, has their Maserati MC20 Cielo with a custom windscreen, which in my opinion is generic enough to be used with other builds. MEGA also has a few good options. And again, coming right back to the Metal Brick Shop Hot Wheels, the Acura NSX might just be one of my most anticipated building sets. And it has this pair of very nice windscreens, which again I feel might be generic enough to be incorporated into other sets. Now, this may be a bit of a personal thing, but I just can't wait to try to see how to incorporate these windscreens into other icons or Technic builds at this scale. For sure, this list is subjective, but I've tried to explain and justify my choices. In any case, you might have noticed that my focus is not on one brand, but more on the fun and creativity of the design and build process. If that's something that you value, go ahead and like and subscribe for more upcoming videos.